Hey everybody, this is Al with El Rey Collection. Wishing you a happy new year, happy 2026. As you guys know, one of my most popular videos are my predictions from year to year about what's going to happen in the soccer market. And so, first, I usually do a review of the predictions that I've done in the previous year. So, I will be doing that here today. So, again, happy 2026 as we roll into this. And I will let me see how things work on the screen. I may take myself off the screen. If you like these videos, please like it on YouTube. It doesn't cost you anything. Give me a thumbs up. Love to hear your comments as well. And then if you can subscribe to the channel if you're not, that's great. Okay, so let's get into this and see kind of where we ended up before already having technical difficulties. Yeah, so as you guys know, this is the disclaimer. Pause and read this carefully. I'm not giving any financial advice. I'm not saying anything's going to happen. Do your own research. Do not invest in anything based on any of my recommendations. Okay. All right. So this is meant to be fun. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I love the comments. If you can, just let me know. Of course, I can't out every bias that I have. I post a lot on Instagram, do a lot of videos, so you generally can see kind of what I have in general. I do this just for real fun, and the presentations in my cards, except for sales, that we'll get through are mine. So anyway, if I truly had a crystal ball, I'd be retired. I'm not retired. I have a day job. So anyway, meant to be fun, and I hope you guys enjoy this. So the first thing that I had last year was I thought that a new pre-war soccer card would sell for 40,000. We had a couple interesting sales in 2024. We had a Wharton Shield, a Bloomer St. Pete's that went for above those amounts. A Freed that went for 70 grand. So, I think that I don't know when we can expect the first pre-war soccer card to hit more than 100 grand. I thought that we would see one at 40 grand. We had a number of things, some plus ultra cards in the 20 plus. We had a rare Charlton rookie, kind of do well as well, but everything kind of fell short of this marker that I thought we may see this. I think there's generally some strength in this market, but the sales always depend on what's available for sale, right? There's still plenty of cards that I think would clear this mark if they came for sale. They didn't come in 2025, and so hence we didn't hit that. But there was some strength. We'll talk about that later. So 0 for 1 to start off, and I thought that was a fun prediction, one that turned out clearly to be incorrect. The next one that I had was that the general market would experience double-digit price increases. It's hard to think about where we were when I was making this video a year ago, but we had basically just had 2 years of kind of the year of the collector, and I really thought that we were hitting bottom in 2024. And I thought that there were some material gains to be had in 2025, and that the collectors for the long haul would really appreciate their entry points that they had in certainly 2024, but also early 2025. And this one, I mean, there's just no question. The market kind of had another spike, and it was it was Messi and Ronaldo for a lot of it, but I mean, it was pretty broad. Maradona had runs, pre-modern guys had runs, whether that was R9, whether it was Zidane, you had vintage make runs. And so we'll get into a lot more of the details here in the coming minutes, but in general, I don't think I try to be as objective as possible in my grading here, and I don't think there's any way we could say that the market did not generally experience double-digit price increases on like for like. Of course, like every market, hey, if the stock market hits an all-time high, there are still stocks that hit all-time lows. But in general, I think if I'm being as objective as possible, like there's no way I could come to a different conclusion that this was right. So the another one that I think would be impossible to argue that I was wrong was I called that the Messi market would stabilize at higher levels and the S-Day sticker in particular would gain. Now, the second part of that, the S-Day sticker gain, sure, it gained not nearly as much as the 71 bis though in some of the other Messi cards. So I love my comment here from more than a year ago. I said I hated to call a bottom in any market, but I believe that for collectors in the long term, they would love their 2024 price entry points for key Messi rookies, and that absolutely rung true. We'll see later some of the sales where there were a number of factors of what the previous sales were. So I think I was right on. I still believe, and I had a video on this. You can check in my history here that the Estee sticker has significant runway. It ran just like everything else, but on a pop adjusted basis, I actually do a whole video on which Messi rookies are most attractive to potentially get in. So check that video out based on just data and non-emotional type review. But in general, the Messi market went absolutely nuts, pretty much across the board in numbered cards, in rookies. It's just wow, so much activity in the Messi market. And one thing that I'll do, I'll have another little commercial for Alec at USMNT. Follow his videos and his channels. He goes through a weekly PWCC, or I guess Fanatics Collect auctions, and he does a great job. And if you want to get a real sense for what's happening in the market, tune into his channel and watch his weekly reviews of those auctions, and you'll see a tremendous amount of Messi, and he'll point out some of the key cards. So highly recommend that as well. So absolutely right here. So now I got 2-1, right? So feeling pretty good. I've kind of recovered. I'm still failing though from a technical perspective, 66%. So let's see what I had here. You probably, let me see if I take this off. Maybe you can see this a little bit better. Here you can, no, maybe that's not good. Or okay, well, I'll leave that like that, so maybe you can read it a little bit better. If not, I'll read it to you. I basically, thought that there would be at least 200K soccer card market sale, a soccer card sales in the soccer card market. If you recall, which now seems like crazy, in 2024 we only had one. So I was like, hey, the market's going to be better. We're going to have more, interest and in the market, and we'll double. We'll have imagine 200,000 card sales in the market. And the reality is, whoa, I could have never foreseen this. I mean, I'm going to go 2, meaning double. We like blew that away. I mean, it just the many Messi rookies. One private sale sold for allegedly 1.5 million. Here's a Fanatics Messi that sold for 600,000. You had a ton of modern cards, the Black Select at 400,000. I actually stole this little review here from Matt Hendler's Instagram. I had a similar list, but this was just easier to all see. So sorry, Matt. So in general, though, you had the Panini Eminence 1 of 1, 200,000. You had a bunch of mega cracks, Messi's and Ronaldo selling for more than 200. It was just a crazy market. So this blew it away, and it's just the interesting thing from my perspective is that none of the cards, the modern tilt of this, none of the cards were pre-2000. So all of the $200,000 card were either what we'll call ultra modern, which we generally use the 2014 Prism set, or basically CR7 or Messi Mega Cracks cards. So when you think about that, you can think about that on 2 levels. Wow, the soccer market is doing great, especially in modern as in many other sports. But there is also a little bit, it does provide a little bit of angst to me. Not not that not that Messi and Ronaldo won't always be really important, and they are, but I just look at the number of like autos and one of ones, and these guys are still young. There's going to be a lot of this stuff for years. Yeah, some of the original earlier issues are always going to hold value. Some of the low numbered um prisms or selects or other sets are always probably going to do pretty well, but this is a lot of money coming into the soccer market, and I think if people get burned in the soccer market in modern, that will potentially negatively affect the soccer market for vintage, because always some percentage of people who come in and get into the modern market tend to trickle down to the vintage. So there's a little bit of concern and angst that, man, if you buy a Lamine Yamal and you have $50,000 to put into a card, and that card, let's say fast forward 2-3 years, ends up being significantly less than that, then you may be burned and just lose interest and leave the hobby. We had a number of those people after the last COVID spike that kind of left the hobby, and so that's a small negative to this really robust market. At the flip side, people are taking soccer seriously, and you can see otherwise you wouldn't. I mean, $200,000 is a lot of money to put into a piece of cardboard for soccer. So that part is amazing, and of course, we had a tremendous amount of sales, like blew away all expectations in my mind, and it was just amazing strength in the soccer card market as a whole. But remember, it mostly affected modern, ultra modern. We'll get into some other areas where it did, obviously trickle down, and we had some gains, but nothing like the gains experienced in these kind of true high level investment grade one of one super rare modern cards and the rookies of the goats. So now I'm up, what, this is 4, so now I'm up to 75%, so I've got a C rating. So let's see where we are here. Let me go to the next slide. Oops, hang on, I thought I changed the slide here. The next one that I had was the market broadening continues over the last couple of years. It was kind of like the top players did well, but a lot of the kind of the second tier guys didn't do great. They kind of were in the stagnation or even down. And I really thought that we could, start to see just a continual broadening, and you really did see this. I mean, there were a number of German stars, and it's funny that I had Pottinger in this. A number of German cards and some Italian cards. It's funny, I got the Piola here that did really well, of like second tier kind of stars. They basically a number of them cleared $1,000 for kind of a second tier German star. That's pretty impressive. It generally, I thought that being a collector got moderately more difficult because of this broadening. So if you were targeting a specific, player, you were going to have to pay more. And so that actually happened. We didn't see a tremendous amount of flippers, which I thought we would see, but you did see a number of them more on the modern side of the soccer market. So, I really, really believe that the general soccer card market had seen kind of their lows in general, and that many items that had kind of reverted to the pre-pandemic pricing had that was probably as low as it was going to get. So I was recommending to go after anything left on your want list in 2025. And if you did that in the first half of the year, you're probably pretty happy with your ability to do that. So we got a couple really good years for collectors to add to their stuff. And what we saw was just a lot more, niche interest and broadening down to kind of second tier stars. Although I feel terribly even calling, look at the guys on this slide, Balanciere, I mean, one of the greats of all time. Piola, one of the Italian greats of all time. I mean, Rivaldo, are you kidding me? How can we call these guys second tier? But there's so many great people to collect in soccer through the years and through just the multiple generations, countries, teams. So, but yeah, that's what we saw in 2025, and I think that was pretty true. The next thing that I thought, which is always a fun one for me, if you haven't joined the Vintage Soccer Discord, please do so. There's the link right there, or you can pause and copy that in and join. I thought that we would grow the Discord to 1,250 members, and we barely eked over it, according to Bill. So if you've got an issue with this number, you can contact Bill at Collect Football. We ended up with 1,261. So I have even greater expectations. I think that for 2026, which I haven't done that video yet, but I expect even more growth there. I'll probably have a stretch goal because we it's a World Cup year, and so that could be actually quite exciting. And getting more people in the community is always good. It's a great place to share thoughts and knowledge. You'd be astounded by the global nature of the Discord and all of the knowledge that is shared freely in such a collaborative, friendly way. So, highly recommend you join the Discord if you're not there, and if you're there, continue to enjoy it. It's a big part of my hobby and fun. The next thing was I projected that PSA would continue the stranglehold on the market and did not back off, meaning they weren't going to decrease their pricing. And man, that I'll talk a lot more about Beckett in my 2026 video, but having them buy Beckett at the beginning of the year, there was sometimes a promotion where you could get $14.99, 16, 17.99. So those days, that $15 floor is even long gone. I mean, PSA got so much business this year between the GameStop partnership, between all of these repackers getting graded cards, just a crazy amount of volume to PSA, and they had no choice as good business people to raise their prices, right? There's no reason for that changing, and then them buying Beckett only enables them to really establish the new normal of pricing for grading, which is significantly higher than what it used to be. Now, that comes with some benefits, right? That it comes with a really nice images. It comes with better communication. It's better than it used to be grading, but in general, the floor has been significantly increased. And if you've paid attention the last 6 months or so, there have been almost no real promotions through PSA. So because they're backed up, they can't even get what they wanted. So I mean, they can't even get through the stuff they have that's on order. So in general, I think and I'll talk in 2026 as well of this, but it definitely felt like this going into 2025, and it's only gotten worse. I feel even stronger about this. Like, how will we see a new floor, in the low 20s, as a floor, not just the standard pricing, because the standard pricing now, even for I think what the service they call standards, like $45 for one card or something, 44 maybe it is right now, which is just a huge number, and so few cards kind of hit the threshold where that makes sense. You got to be talking about a card that's worth at least a few $100s, probably closer to $500 for it to even make sense. Now, if you're grading for resale, I think that unless Pokemon has a big retraction, because a ton of this volume was TCG related, or if the general kind of repacking industry blows up, I just don't see any demand shocks that will revert this to a place where PSA has massive excess capacity that they're just trying to fill. So between those things, I am I would be very bullish about PSA stock if I owned it, just because they have massive pricing power, market dominance, and nothing on the horizon that clearly shows that they would revert to a negative margin pressure in the future. So I'll discuss Beckett more in the 2026 video. I think SGC is just continues to do less and less, and then CSG is generally a winner in this, but they're still mostly a bit player in the sports side. They're much stronger in the TCG side. But I think I got this one right too. So now I'm on a little bit of a roll, 6 of 7. So now that's some respectable thing. Here, I always like to do this one. It's something I love to track, that at least 2 new rookies will be found. It's hard to use that word, new rookies, and what's a rookie. And, I'll just say generally kind of first-ish cards, or what we think could be the first-ish cards. So the Rivellino here was a 1965, part of a game piece. You may have seen this on one of my videos. This is my particular copy. So that was kind of a fun one. Actually, I like the image, his pre-mustache image, and it's definitely his first item. I'm not sure I'd call it a card. And then there was a Francesca Coluna found. This is not my card. So but it's very, it's there. You may recall another one of them that has the more common one that has the wood outline. So this one is just the regular, straight up, typical A Francesa stickers. So that's kind of nice to see. And then there was this 48 or 49 DD on Peter's site. And this doesn't look like DD to me, but I think clearly the right team, and maybe it is. It's just hard for me to know. I've never seen the sticker in person. Again, not my card. The only one here that's mine is Rivellino. But it's very, I think that it's interesting. The DD, for instance, fits his team and the time from 47, but maybe it's the wrong photo, maybe it's the right photo. I don't know. But one of the more important things is that where are we finding these? Well, we're finding new rookies. 2 of these are from Brazil, one's from Portugal. Odd that they're all Portuguese speaking countries. But I think that we're finding things in, I'd say, less developed and cataloged collecting environments. So, I don't think we've seen a lot of new stuff, and I don't think we will, in Italy, Spain, and UK, for instance. Even Germany, although there is a chance, because some of those sets are super rare in the 1920s, that we could find some stuff. But where there's no real catalog, most of the South American countries outside of Argentina, but even there, you could still find new stuff, new players that we don't have a full checklist, and they can show up in new sets that we weren't sure if they were in. So, but it's always exciting to track this. I know this grates a lot of people the wrong way, because they want, hey, I invested in a 1967 Rivellino. I thought that was a rookie, and now it's not. And I'm like, well, welcome to soccer card collecting. You've got to get some level of comfort with this. You have to applaud new finds. At least I do, even if it means that your previous item that was considered rookie is no longer rookie. Now, in general, so much of this stuff is so rare. Does it really matter? I don't think so. It's just fun, and it's one of the things I love about soccer card collecting. So I hope you do too, and I hope we celebrate new finds from all over the world, because it's really fun. So again, where would I be looking for new items that could be found? In the under catalog areas. So Eastern Europe would be one, Asia would be another one, South America largely would be another one. It's going to be hard to find things in Western Europe, I think. In general, we can always get surprised. But anyway, that's super fun. So now I'm 7 for 8, feeling respectable on this year. I thought that the vault prices would creep up. Um, and this actually turned out to be false. I thought that they would have already hit the critical mass that they needed for to start raising vault pricing when you get things shipped to you home. I was wrong on this one. I think that now PSA and eBay are largely building out their strategy. They have their offers coming in. They're trying to get people to sell on the platform. They're trying to get people to ship to the vault, if they will, from vault to vault. So, I think at some point this will likely turn, but it didn't happen in 2025. And I think that based on what we're seeing, the ability to ship from PSA into the vault and list your cards, and now you can use buy it nows on eBay. I think that a lot of this, they still need to build out. As soon as they have millions of cards, and then they can jam you for getting those back. They may just hold off and just keep trying to get percentages of the sales, ease of logistics, sending it to themselves effectively. I think I thought that the eBay PSA strategy would do well in the market, but I think it has even done better than what I thought. Um, that is something that we'll keep our eye on in 2026, and I'll likely make some additional comments on this. But I missed it in 2025, which is good for collectors. One of the kind of the few third party things that is good for collectors in 2025. There's a bit of bad news for collectors in terms of grading consolidation, in terms of pricing for grading. But this is one of the good things for collectors. Box prices from the manufacturers. So those were all negatives. This one was a positive, and I was wrong here. I thought this was going to be a negative. So now I'm what, 7 of 9. Let's see. We did this. The El Rey collection will find 2 or more items on his top 10 list. Always a risky thing. I did find a couple, and the thing that may surprise people here, I'm sure a lot of people will be, wait, what? You bought these cards? There were a number of modern cards that were on my list to get, and I actually picked up 3 of them, which I had the black Messi, but I just obviously that card traded. Wish I would have been able to get that one at the time. Couldn't. And so the next best thing is the green 2022 sticker. This one went for a crazy price, but I also have looked at all of these stickers through time, and this was like by far the best. It was the best centering. It had no whiting on it. It was just a beautiful copy, assuming that it's real in the BGS. There is some element of risk there, but I just love this one, and I felt like this was something that I would stick with, in the place of the black that I wasn't able to get. And these are super hard. I mean, I think greens come one in, a few thousand packs, and then the set 600, um, you know, stickers. So just the probability to get a Messi is just so hard. And this one was just beautiful. Everyone I've seen through the years has been rough. There was a CSG that sold for like a fraction of this, 8.5, which was probably good enough. And I probably should have gotten that one instead. But this one, I just loved it. I loved it. I mean, it's shocking to me. I got 3 Beckett holders here. It's a great Mbappe Cyrillic, which is probably a print run of 20 to 25, and then the CR7 gold, which this particular image, I like this better than some of the other golds, and this is a number to 7, so that's pretty good. And of course, the old Star Wars, I passed on a number of Charlton cards through the years because I just didn't like the cuts. A lot of them are really close to that black line. These are hand cut off a cigarette box, and I always wanted one that had white borders shown. And so I finally found one of those and had to stretch beyond kind of my comfort zone. But it was definitely a top 5 on my want list. So super excited to have that, as well as some of these modern cards, which were certainly not cheap, but I think that they're probably fair given the um, relative, what would you call it, a value, if you want to talk that on, you know a rarity. Like I bet I'm going to guess that there's less than 20 greens um, of the 2022 World Cup stickers, which makes it one of the more important World Cup stickers in my mind outside of the blacks. And the CR7, obviously Manchester United numbered to 7. That's crazy. This is a BGS 9, which I think honestly, when I look at the card, was probably a bit generous, not to talk down my own card here. And then just a really beautiful, really early, important, one of the more important uh, modern, ultra modern cards is the 2018 Mbappe. I'll talk much more about Mbappe in my 2026 video, but I was excited. I hope you're excited. I hope you guys all got stuff that you had on your list, because that's what collecting is. It's fun. It should be. You should have goals and be able to achieve them, and then you can move on to the next thing, right? Or you maybe change your goals and you move into something else. But for this, I was super happy, and hope 2025 was a great year in your collections. So in the end, that's like there's I was 8 of 10. I'll go back to the overall review, in the end, but I did want to go extra credit here since I ended up 8 out of 10. Still better than your average bear. Some people would look at that and say, oh, you got a B minus. When you're predicting markets, 8 out of 10, if you've had 8 out of 10, stock trades, or you did actions on that, I think you'd feel pretty good. You'd probably feel pretty good about 6 out of 10 or 7 for sure. But 8, I think, was a pretty good year. So, at least I'm, not just pulling a bunch of crazy stuff out. I had pretty good sense for the market, have been tracking it. But so I just did want to get a little bit of extra credit and kind of go on, see if I can push myself from that B rating up to an A and review some of the other stuff. Since I'm the teacher here, I will also provide my own grade, so at least we'll get kind of an A minus. But I wanted to go through some of the top sales of the year because I think that's interesting to a lot of people. It may give us some indication of opportunities in 2026, which I'll come back to. But I wanted to look at some of the big Pele sales that we had, and this the vintage Pele market, the key rookie market, was pretty soft. I mean, this O&B Pele rookie constellation type, this it's 57, could be issued early 58. Sold for $100,000. That was a significant decrease. Now I know that some people don't like what they consider the writing on this card. It's actually a stamp, the winner stamp, which is actually quite interesting. But that was a relatively low. I know $100,000 doesn't sound like a very little, like a little amount, but it's relatively little. I just want to juxtapose, absolute super rare McDonald's type prize, really tough, Pele, certainly rookie, material at 100,000. And then over on the far right over here, you get the let's see, can you see my cursor? Maybe not. A 2024 Panini Prism, not pack pulled, just auctioned off on their website back in the day for, I don't know, I think it was a couple $1,000s, sells for 183,000. So, you could basically have the rookie, O and B. You could have one of the highest grade titulares here, which a PSA 5, super high grade on titulares, which was 40,000. And then you could buy $40,000 of other really cool Maradona cards. Pele cards, which would just you'd have an epic collection, or you could have the 2014 Panini Prism direct purchase from, not even pack pulled, from Panini. I mean, it's not even close to me. Like I that's a cool looking card, but I mean, it's like it's so post playing career. There's no auto. It's cool colors, but wow, some things I just don't get. And another, I know the flawless is awesome, but the other, you had a flawless 1 of 1. There's so many different parallels, so much different signed Pele stuff. That one going for 70,000 or 68,000 just kind of blew blew my mind a bit. I would way rather be putting, um, you know, incremental investment dollars, no investment advice, but into cards like a 57, 58 Pele's. Like this Alifa 8 sold for 164,000. I mean, that's a top 15 Alifa, and beautiful card, and it goes for 160,000. So I'd rather have either, if even if it was one on one, if would I rather have an Alifa PSA 8, or this 2014 Prism Pele, 100% going with the Pele Alifa. And even if it was straight up, I would also take the OMB Pele over the Prism. I'm clearly, I my preferences are not the market, but that was a bit of a shocker to me. And I would also say that that I think that there's a market opportunity here on Pele. So because he didn't really make any runs, and in fact, there's kind of an argument based on the card that some things were incrementally down, like the Alifa. We didn't see a ton of Quiggles. There was some small. I think the Vav went for. There was some really nice Vavs that went for like really reasonable prices, as well as some Bremers. So I think that Pele's softness is a pretty big surprise to me, especially given how Maradona did. So with that, let's go over and look at some Maradona sales. So here we had he definitely performed better than Pele, and he had some strong modern results as well. In the 1977 PSA 7, sold for 96,000 in September, and he had a number of earlier cards. Here I had a Panini 8.5 PSA, not even a 9, sold for 15, and a 78 PSA 8. Really nice colors on this. Not my favorite card, but it's pretty popular in the market. And that went for 20 grand. He had some other 78 cracks that did really well in high grade, and then his modern stuff went for some decent prices, not as strong as Pele, but here's a 101 Immaculate that went for 32,000. I think I actually picked up that one, and a National Treasures 101 that went for 30. And those cards, on card, obviously he's not signing anymore. Neither is Pele. Pele signed way more than Maradona, so I think these cards were much more scarce, and a fraction at kind of equivalent Pele pricing seemed like a bit of a value here to me. But these have run just like most of the Maradona stuff, and if you continued on through the early 80s issues, especially on a grade adjusted basis, you'd see that generally the Maradona market did pretty well. Not as strong as the Ronaldo CR7 or Messi market, but it was still actually quite strong. So getting to pre-war, which I know is where a lot of you guys and myself spent a lot of time. There was some really kind of great sales. I won't go into all of the details of these. You probably can't see them here, but you had a Three Nuns Bloomer go for 7,500. You had a Dixie Dean rookie and PSA 3 hit 11,500. We had a number of plus ultra beautiful cards from Argentina, Raimundo Orsi that sold for 22,000. We had a Guillermo Stabile that sold for 19,000. We had a Monty that was 10. That's not on this screen. This Andrade rookie period postcard sold for 5,500. You had some names you don't typically hear, like Orth sold for 1,200 and a PSA 1. So pretty rare card there. You had a Rico sell for like 4 grand, and Bernabe Ferrara sold for whatever this was, 3.3 grand. Fritz Walter continues to get market respect, selling for 3,800 here. The Jam Moreno sold for 23,000 in the Christmas version at a PSA 5. A great sale there. And then, even some of the rarer cards like this, the Dixie Dean Cerisi from from Malta, did about $1,900. I think this was actually my sale of my duplicate there. So what you saw is just general strength. What do we got here? We have cards from the early 1900s, right? Through the pretty much on the cusp of World War II, and meaning the Fritz Walter, and they all had pretty strong sales. I think also we could look at other Andrade cards. His did exceptionally well in 2025, but really kind of across the board there was strength. There was some bounce back in Mesa. His Larati had kind of stabilized or dipped from 70,000 in the boom all the way down to the mid to high teens, and a lot of those bounce back to the 20s, mid 20s. I think a nice sale was in the 30s. So it's just kind of this stabilization of it. I'd say that in general, South American stuff seemed to shine a bit more than the UK stuff, but the UK stuff was not cheap, this year. And then a lot of German cards on a relative basis made runs that I talked about a little earlier in the broadening of the market. So it was kind of a good time to have rare items and bring those to market because they did exceedingly well, and particularly they did well on the at the every 10 PWCC/Fanatics auction that happens once every 10 weeks, so 2.5 months. So those cards did really well there. That seems like that ended up being the platform that was absolutely the preferred platform to get the most eyeballs on pre-war soccer, vintage soccer as well. So that was the kind of how I saw pre-war in 2025, and vintage mostly the same story. We saw a lot. I mean, this is a pop 20 card, and we saw 5 Puska sales, and they went from 13,000 low at a PSA 1, and they went to 72,000 in a PSA 8.5. We saw a lot of strength in Brazilian issues. This kind of rare DD sold for $6,000. That's pretty impressive. So rare vintage cards did, I'd say pretty well regardless of their origin. And there was just that general bounce in the market helped rarer items even more. This completely thrashed Di Stefano Revancha. I forgot that this even sold when I was making this video, and it's authentic, completely thrashed, and that did like six grand. The Copa, which had been up to 10,000, also did respectable $3,000. This Rivera Vav 8,500. I mean, that's incredible strength. Yeah, it's a 6 in a hard to grade set. The best kind of has bounced back a bit. This is about 5,500, and this is a really nice PSA 7. The very rare 65 grow gold. This one had a thrash back and sold for basically a tick under 12 grand. Very, very rare card. And then even like more common, but in better grade things like this Garincha from the 55 Vecchi sold for 7 grand early in the year. It doesn't even have the best, what I'd call deep colors. The Beckenbauer bounced back. Those had fallen around 10K, and it bounced back to about 19K in PSA 8. I think subsequently there was I don't know if that grade has changed, but feels like those have peeled back a little bit from these runs. But in many cases, and here's a Cruyff 7.5 sold for Polyrex sold for 27.6K. So, I think that that's not back to where like their all-time highs. Their all-time highs were in the 40s, but it's still incredibly respectable bounce back. And I think that some of these cards, if they were to be sold today, may have a little bit of a step back from here. But I think the whole floor has taken, a gigantic step upwards, especially for rare items. And that's kind of another big learning for me, and not learning, confirmation. And again, second shout out of the video to Alec at USMNT, who does some pop report videos for soccer cards. I mean, for all the grading going on in the world and all the cards out there, I mean, pops are not exploding at all. Even with all of these price increases, it's kind of a confirmation of something we've always said of reasons why we like the vintage soccer card market, is that so many sets from so many parts of the world and so many regional issues, that just the prints were super small relative to other things, and you just aren't going to see massive amounts of supply. And supply is equally important as demand in the pricing, in the pricing resolution and clearing price, defining clearing prices in the market. So, I think it's just, to me, confirmation of rarity of items. Sure, certain things that seem rare today may not be rare tomorrow, but in general, if you're playing a broad-based strategy of multiple different things, the things we could all have told you that the grow gold Beckenbauer is super rare. Like, we know that, we've known that, and that's right. We can all say, this rare 52 DD is very rare, right? Now, is it worth $6,000? I don't know, but it's very, very rare. We know that this Bergman Beckenbauer is not rare, right? We know we have hundreds of copies out there, but we know it's very rare and high grade. So there are some things. Same with the Vecchi Garincha here. We know that the Alfredo Di Stefano is very rare. So I think there are some things that we wondered about over the last few years. Would this happen? Where would we end up? And I think in the end, we continue to solidify which items are rare, which ones are have condition rarity, but not necessarily just like organic rarity. And I think even the ones that have condition rarity, to me, start to look very attractive as the pops stabilize. And because even this Beckenbauer has a few hundred copies. I mean, imagine the like Lamine Yamal probably has. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna pull a number out of my ass here, but I'm gonna say 20,000 numbered cards in his first couple seasons. I mean, that is crazy. Those are numbered cards, right? And so to think that you could still go and get a Beckenbauer like top tier an 8, I don't know. I probably should have researched this before getting on this diatribe here, but an 8 is probably a top 10 of so a top 5%. So a top 5% rookie of one of the greats of all time. Like, absolutely, you can't even argue. If you're arguing that, you know nothing about soccer history. So a top 10 player of all time, of which is a couple hundred, top 5, and it's 18,000. I could probably create a list of 50 to 100 Lamine Yamal cards that sold for $20,000, right? Nothing against Lamine Yamal. Love him as a player. Hopefully he does well in the World Cup. But just on a relative basis, and then take a look at the Grow Gold top 5 in total. Like, if you had a numbered Lamine Yamal rookie from a super desired set, what? I mean, so, and this one sold for $12,000. Yeah, the back was messed up, but it has true rarity. Anyway, I think awesome space. Love this space for the certainly the demand side, I think, can only get better, but the supply side, I am loving what I've been seeing here over the last 36 months in pop increases, which just aren't that much. So let's see, what else did I have here? I had other notable sales. I thought the Key World Cup stickers did really well. You had this Pele 9. Obviously, the red and blue back is epic. The grade is epic. 12 grand. You had just the regular 1 and a 9 goes for the Italian version for 6 grand. You had this Beckenbauer from 70 go for 3 grand. you had this, the Maradona. I forgot to put the 86 one on here, but that one did really well. The 82, this one went for 1500. You had even a Ronaldo 1998. I mean, R9 sticker. That one went for 1500. The Messi 2006. I mean, this is not a rare sticker. Yeah, it's a tough grade. $3,000 for the 2006 Messi PSA 10. Here's the green that I bought. Crazy price, probably stupid price, but it's love that green. The CR7 black one of one went for 78,000. So it would, 78,000. That's a big number. I mean, that's like half as much as the Messi, or maybe even more than half, but it's a PSA 6. I know it's a one of one, so the grades matter not that much, but Messi versus Ronaldo 2022, Messi black, given that's his World Cup year, probably the most important World Cup sticker ever in my mind. So to see the Ronaldo pull 78, that's a huge number. But even his green pulled 3,000 in an 8.5, right? So that's there. And the Mbappe also pulled 3.4. Very important sticker for him as well. Just one of his rarest World Cup stickers. So they did pretty well, and the list can go. I could go on a lot of different stickers, the World Cup stickers, which I watch pretty closely. I think they're part of the cultural importance of soccer collecting. Love collecting them. The albums have always done and peeled and pasted, my own albums. So those are really, really fun to do, and a big part of the World Cup. So it's nice to see this key part of the hobby, heritage and lineage, do really well in 2025. So yeah, so there was a multiple, more than $10,000 in World Cup stickers, and that's kind of a big deal to me. Okay, so here's the review, and hey, if you've hung on this long, thank you. Appreciate your support. Let me know in the channels things you'd like me to do in 2026. I've got some ideas. Don't have a tremendous amount of time, but hoping to have some incremental time and want to bring stuff to the YouTube channel that people enjoy. If you can, and you haven't so far, like this video, and please subscribe if you don't. But I really want to hear from you. I really appreciate the comments. So here's again all the stuff that I thought. I was wrong that we'd see pre-war soccer sell for more than 40,000, but I was generally right on the general market seeing double-digit price increases. I was also right that the Messi market would stabilize at new higher levels and that the Este sticker would gain. I was I was absolutely crazy right in the audacious expectation that we'd see $200,000 soccer card sales. We saw certainly of the same types of multiple cards hitting that. We saw close to 20, I think, at least if you include some of these reported private sales and the multiple mega cracks, Ronaldo and CR7s. So in this, I just blew this away. This was crazy. It blew me away, to be honest with you. The market broadening continued. We absolutely saw that. Eked through on the vintage Discord to 1250. PSA continuing their stranglehold on the market and not backing off of their pricing. I think we got that. We didn't get the pricing creep up on the vaults, which is good news for us. But I was wrong there. And then, obviously you never know which rookies we're going to find, but I always think that's a fun one to track and to see what we find. And then I found some stuff that was on my most wanted list. So that, including one on the top 5, which is always a winner. So we saw some, pretty amazing returns in 2025 in aggregate after nearly 2 years of collector pricing. Hopefully you guys got a lot of stuff there. There's still all sorts of nuggets there. You just have to have a little bit more laser vision here, remain disciplined. And I'll talk a little bit more about 2026 in my next video, but excited to see the vintage, broadening, the pre-war broadening. And I was a lot more right than I was wrong in 2025. Let's see what 2026 brings. Stay tuned. I'll be posting that video here at some point. But again, appreciate all the support and love. Join the Discord, like and subscribe to the channel. And we'll see you soon as we talk about 2026. And remember, have a great 2026. Love y'all.